Now, Senator Bernie Sanders does not think the Democrats did enough to help win the Kansas special election held last week. Now, on CNN's State of the Union, Bernie Sanders essentially blasted the Democratic Party for not putting any resources into a race where the Democratic candidate lost by just 6 points in an incredibly Republican district. Now, again, the fact that it was such a red area and a Bernie-crat, a progressive, got so close, made up a over 22-point difference to come up just barely short, is amazing in itself. And the fact that the Democrats didn't look at that as he was closing that gap and saying, maybe we should actually put some resources into this, that's also amazing. Bernie Sanders noticed, and he and on CNN's State of the Union said this.
Are you concerned that the DNC, they're doing this big red state tour with you, but a lot of people criticized the DNC for not sending enough resources to Kansas. So it's great that they're doing this display.
Well, let's be clear. Let's
be
clear. I mean, the point here is that I think all over grassroots America, whether they're Democrats, independents, or Republicans, people are perceiving that Trump did not tell the truth in his campaign in terms of what he would do as president of the United States. He was going to drain the swamp. Well, he's in fact appointed more billionaires to his cabinet than any president in history, et cetera, et cetera. So what I think has happened now in Kansas, it is true that the Democratic candidate lost. It is true that the Democratic Party should have put more resources into that election. But it is also true that he ran 20 points better than the Democratic candidate for president did in Kansas. So what you're seeing in Kansas, what you're seeing in Georgia, I believe you're going to see it in Montana. I believe you're going to see it all over this country, is that many so-called red states, working people are going to wake up and say, wait a second, Republicans want to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and education, and they want to give hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to the top 1%. No, that's not what we elected Trump to do. Yeah, climate change is real. It's not a hoax. We got to move to sustainable energy. I think all over this country, in red states and in blue states, people are beginning to stand up. They're beginning to fight back. They're demanding a government which does not just represent the billionaires, but represents the working class of this country.
All right, so look, all that is pretty true. The problem is, Bernie, the Democrats, they looked at that race and they said, not interested. We're not interested in your progressive candidate. We're not interested in helping progressive change. Because if we get into that one, we're going to have to get in everywhere else. And we're not exactly interested in progressives. Now, while the Democrats didn't do anything, you had Paul Ryan out there bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars from gigantic donors. And you also had Trump, and we covered that, putting out robocalls in favor of Ron Estes. So, look, even with all of that, the guy still closed a 22-point gap. And did way, way better than, he couldn't even say the name Hillary Clinton. He couldn't say that. So, look, you know, I love Bernie Sanders, but come on, dude, you got to get a little bit stronger on that. Even though you're traveling with the DNC, you shouldn't be afraid to completely hammer them for what they obviously did wrong. But, see, you got to understand. Right now, the Democratic Party doesn't really seem like it wants to win. At least when they have a progressive on board. Now, when it's progressives versus Republicans, they don't spend a dime. When it's progressives versus establishment Democrats, there's where they spend millions and millions of dollars to crush progressives. They try harder to defeat the left than they do the right. Now, when that happens, you know that there's something absolutely fundamentally wrong. Now, I don't know if Sanders is going to be successful in this 50-state push if he's going to bring along somebody like Tom Perez. You know, bless his heart for trying, Bernie Sanders. But if the Democratic Party doesn't change their ways, and it actually could start by putting in some resources for progressives and actually helping progressive candidates instead of trying to crush them, well, then all you're going to have is Bernie Sanders essentially doing a tour of the South with no benefit for progressive policies, or at least when it comes to the Democratic Party. Because right now, like, you got to understand, the Democratic Party has the support of the most popular politician in America. They have a populace that's hungry for progressive policy. They're not going to have that forever. At some point, Bernie Sanders, even Sanders, is going to look at that and say, well, look, I'm doing everything I can to help you, save for giving you my my mailing list, which I'm not giving you, by the way. And that's what the Democratic Party seems to really want, is that mailing list. That's why they're keeping Bernie around. He's doing everything short of giving him that list, or giving them that list, and saying, oh, look, I'm trying to help you. If you're not going to take the help that I'm offering, then it's gone. Then it's not going to be there anymore. That's what I hope Bernie Sanders does. That's what I hope he realizes if the Democratic Party decides not to change. But right now, the Democrats have everything that they have on their side. What they don't seem to have is the spine and the balls and the fortitude to try to stand up, to actually stand up to their corporate masters. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.